Breaking news here on CBS Sports HQ. The quarterfinals are now set at the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. And oh, we have some spicy matchups to come. The upstart teams like Japan, Australia, South Korea, United States, they're all at home watching from here on out. And so is Spain, one of the teams eliminated on Tuesday. Spain among the favorites at 8-1, upset on penalties by Morocco, who are 20,000, plus 20,000 to win the World Cup. You saw that pick vid there of some of the favorites. Like Brazil, France, the reigning champions, Argentina, England. As you look at those quarter-final matchups, by the way, Portugal get Morocco coming up in the quarterfinals. That'll be one of the matchups to watch because either one of those teams can go through. But oh boy, some of these other games, a lot to talk about. Holland facing Lionel Messi in the Albi Celeste, and the 2018 finalists Croatia. They're building nicely, but they'll need their best game against a Brazil side that are the pre-tournament favorites. All right, let's talk about this with CBS Sports soccer analyst James Benge. James, before we get into the matchups, you've got a couple of teams that you want to discuss. So first, let's talk about surprises. At this point in time, tell us who your surprise team is at the tournament.
Yeah, well, I mean, in a positive sense, I think it probably does have to be Morocco. I did actually have them winning their group over some kind of underwhelming teams in Belgium and Croatia. But really, I thought that Spain, we'll come to talk about them maybe a little bit. They were right up there. But I mean, as we'll come to talk about them on disappointments, I would also say Croatia, because frankly, Croatia have not been that good in this tournament, and they weren't even that good against Japan either. So, Croatia, I didn't see it, at the 45-minute mark of their game against Japan. I did not see it happening, but they found a way to get that goal from Ivan Perisic and grind down and stay in the game. Yeah, I really did think that this Japan team was something special, and I thought Croatia weren't that special at all. I can't see them going much further, but they've surprised me getting this far.
James, you had Morocco winning that group with Canada in it. You went against me?
I'm sorry, Jeremy. I wanted to believe, but I just couldn't.
No, I get it. Hey, ask any Canadian. They'll tell you the same thing. We were just happy to be there. All right, teams like Germany, Belgium, the United States, aforementioned Canada, all teams that disappointed based on what pre-tournament expectations were. But who has been your biggest disappointment?
Spain. I thought, and we saw it so many occasions in this tournament, it looked like Spain could win the whole thing. Going right down, that first half against Japan was still, and we'll come on to talk, I'm sure, about Portugal and Brazil, but still some of the best football I've seen from Spain. They were fantastic as well against Costa Rica, had their moments against Germany, but it all fell apart in such an insipid fashion. Huge credit to Morocco. They defend really well, and this isn't the first game where they've done that. But Spain just looked out of ideas, out of energy, out of composure. And a team that I had pegged down as second favourites to win this tournament after Brazil are going home at the round of 16 stage. It's just not good enough. And, as that graphic there shows, it's becoming a bit of a theme with Spain that they're now not going that deep in these World Cups, despite having the quality, despite having the variety in their squad. So, there are real questions to be asked about, the makeup of the squad. I'm sure Luis Enrique will probably depart, but get a better job at club level. So, I thought there was so much more in this Spain team. I really thought they could go and win the whole thing, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Luis Enrique did not look very good at the end of that game, and certainly after that performance today. But in terms of this Spanish program as a whole, as they move forward, I mean, what does that look like with or without Enrique?
I mean, when you have Pedri and Gavi, you're pretty well set when you've got two young midfielders who could dominate the game for a decade. I think we do still have the same questions over Spain that we've had for a fair while now about how many top quality strikers they produce. That Alvaro Morata didn't start and he wasn't quite able to change the game, but it was just that. Is this squad a little too samey? Is it too many technical inside forwards and midfielders, but maybe lacks a bit of bite, a little bit of, players with a will to win that might be exponents of the dark art? That's the sort of challenge for Spain, is to add some variety. It's kind of quite similar to the same challenge that's facing Germany and maybe even facing the US, you could argue, that you can't have squads that are pretty much made up of 10 different flavours of the same player. You need to have fighters, winners, technical experts, and I thought Morocco, by the way, had all of those things, and that's maybe why they won.
Yeah, the fact that Spain didn't even score a single penalty in that penalty shootout, going to be lots of questions asked about that squad. And boy, those Spanish papers at the best of times are not very nice. I can't imagine what the headlines are going to be like tomorrow. All right, have to ask you about a surprise omission today for Portugal. We were all surprised to see the team sheet in a knockout game. Cristiano Ronaldo left on the bench for this game. He did manage to come on. Last group stage game, sure, okay, that's fine. Win or go home. I mean, James, did they call Man United here? Because his omission didn't seem to hurt them in this game.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't shock you, would you, if he picked up the phone to Eric Ten Hag and said, what's life like without Cristiano Ronaldo? And Ten Hag had said, it's actually quite quiet and quite pleasant because, this Portugal team looked liberated for not having Ronaldo, clearly one of the greatest scorers of all time, but a player that at 37 requires you to play a certain way, doesn't necessarily contribute very much without the ball. This was free-flowing football at its best. The likes of João Felix and Bruno Fernandes, over whom there's always questions as to whether they can gel with Ronaldo, they were phenomenal. And of course, Gonçalo Ramos hitting the headlines with a hat-trick. I mean, he's taken Ronaldo's place and he's not giving it back for that quarter-final. This guy does everything that you want from a modern forward. He brings his teammates in. He creates chances for others. He presses off the ball. And if he's scoring goals that Ronaldo himself would be proud of, it completely changes the outlook for Portugal in this tournament. Cristiano Ronaldo, have we maybe seen the end of him as a player at the peak of his powers? I revealed with Ben Jacobs late last month that the offer from Al Nassr in Saudi Arabia that would make him one of the highest paid athletes in the world. It seems like that's the only offer on the table and that he may be bowing for Saudi Arabia after this tournament. So we're kind of seeing Ronaldo go out from top-level football with a whimper.
Yeah, one of the greatest of all time to play. And certainly, as you said, his career not ending certainly in the way that he had hoped, hoping to be at the top of his game. But Portugal do move on. He's got another game coming up, quarterfinal. Let's run through the bracket and get some picks here from you, James. We'll start with the quarterfinal matchups. Top corner, I believe, is where we're going first. Netherlands, Argentina.
Yeah, two teams that have not quite hit top gear, although I thought the Dutch were very good against the US. But I still think in the end, that Argentina defence looks really strong and the Dutch may not quite have the answers for Lionel Messi, so I'm picking Argentina.
What about Croatia, Brazil? I mean, here you have the finalists from 2018 up against a team that were the pre-tournament favorites.
Yeah, although fun fact which I was discovered much to my shock, Croatia, even though they made the final, have not won a knockout game at a major tournament in normal time since 1998. They're experts at penalties, but right now this Brazil team is on another level. Neymar looks like one of the best players in the world. He's relishing the responsibility and the chance to win this tournament. So Brazil, for me, for certain and quite comfortably.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for Croatia in that one, especially with a Brazil team that's kind of hitting their stride. If they can get Brazil to penalties, well, a full credit to them. All right, big game, of course, so probably the biggest of the quarterfinal stage. England versus France. Who do you like there? The reigning World Cup champions against 1966.
Look, this could go either way. England have so much talent in attack, but so do France. Both of those defences have weak points. But you know what? The heart wants what the heart wants. It's going to be incredibly tough. It would be the greatest victory that England have had in a very long time. And I'm going for it. I want it to happen, so I'm going to talk it into existence.
Well, yeah, I'm real shocked you went with England here. I mean, I don't want to call Morocco-Portugal a toss-up based on what we saw from Portugal today and the free-flowing football that they were playing. But I mean, I don't really know what this kind of looks like, what Morocco can sort of do with Portugal. So who do you like in that matchup?
Morocco are really hard. They've given up the third fewest expected goals per game behind the two South American teams. But I just think in the end, if there's a team I want to grind away at that, it's the team with Bruno Fernandes, Bernardo Silva and João Felix. I think Portugal will get the job done, but it will be tight.
Okay, and so that sets up your semifinals, Argentina, Brazil, England, Portugal. Let's start with Argentina, Brazil. I mean, this game is going to be, if that's how it comes out to be, it is going to be a war between those two teams. Who do you like in that matchup?
I mean, almost since the draw was made, we've all been looking at this as the game. It's almost like a final before a final, because I think whichever one wins, you would make the fairly strong favourite in the final. I think Brazil just have too many weapons. I think if you can shut down Messi in attack, Argentina aren't that terrifying. So I'm going Brazil there.
Oh, not going with the romantic story of Messi getting his World Cup finally? Okay, so it's Brazil advancing in that matchup. What about England-Portugal? Do England get one step closer to vanquishing the ghosts of '66, or do you like Cristiano Ronaldo to get to the final?
Jeremy, of course they get one step closer. Why are we even debating this? I mean, England are a really good team. Their midfield is starting to balance now that Jordan Henderson has come into it. So, yeah, people will say I've got an agenda here, and maybe I do. But you know what? You've got me on this show to pick them, so I'm picking what I want.
All right, so then take us through the final here. Is your heart broken at the end of this game?
I mean, I'm English, of course it is. You know, you prepare yourself for the disappointment. Yeah, Brazil are going to win that. I mean, Brazil would beat, I think, whoever comes out of the other side of the draw. But you never know. Miracles do happen. And if they do happen, you won't be seeing me on CBS for a week or two at the very least.
You'll be a little bit sad. We'll be sure to send you a little bouquet. James, but before we go, I wanted to ask you, just in case we do happen to see an upset, maybe a Croatia going through, maybe Morocco beating Portugal, of that particular matchup, those two matchups, which one would be the bigger upset for you? Croatia beating Brazil or Morocco stunning Portugal?
I think it would be Croatia. I'm not sure they're as good a team as their reputation. I mean, they have Luka Modric, one of the greatest midfielders of all time, but the attack is a little bit limited. They certainly don't have great options at centre forward. Josko Gvardiol is a very talented young defender, but again, I think it's weak. And I actually think Morocco, if you just run down the list of their squad and you see how well they defend, I think Morocco are a superior team. Portugal are not as good as Brazil. So I do think that I would be if Croatia were to come out of that tie. And I know they're a team and a squad that can take offence to a lot of things. So maybe all I'm doing is speaking this into existence. But yeah, Croatia for me would be a huge shock if they beat Brazil.
Both Croatia and Morocco, 35-1 to lift the World Cup trophy. For James, it's all about Brazil. Our CBS Sports soccer analyst joining us to help set up the quarterfinals of the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, which begin on Friday. Thank you very much, James. Great to see you. For all the latest from the World Cup, including insight and analysis, be sure you're listening to House of Champions. The Daily Pod recaps all the action from Qatar. Ian Joy, Michael Lahoud, Nigel Reo-Coker, and Luis Garcia always bringing it. Download and follow House of Champions wherever you get your podcast audio.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.